In this video, I'm going to show you how to make the time series graph, the line graph that corresponds to the scatter plot we made in our previous video, where we saw a strong relationship between the stock returns for two different companies, Google and Microsoft. So the first thing I'm going to do is move my stock return scatter plot out of the way. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight the information for Google, Microsoft, and my date variable, because with a time series plot, we need to keep in mind that the horizontal axis should in fact be a metric of time. So for us, it's a date. Once we have our data highlighted under the Insert tab, I'm going to come over to the series of charts. We're not going to click on recommended charts, though you can do that if you have some questions about future data series. What we're going to do is select the Insert line or area chart option, and we're going to pick the 2D line option. Okay. Once we see this 2D line option, we can see that, as we mentioned in the last video, whatever the leftmost column is, Excel is going to recognize that as the horizontal axis. Now, because we want to make a time series graph, that horizontal axis should indeed be a metric of time, and it is. So this is set up well for us to do this. Once we've got this data set up, though, we are going to take a look at our data series and see how informative this chart is. Now, notice we have Microsoft in the red line and Google in the blue line. And contrary to our previous example, where we notice a strong relationship between Microsoft and Google's stock returns, the stock price data doesn't seem to exhibit that same sort of pattern. For example, when Google seems to fluctuate over some periods, Microsoft seems very, very stable. Now, the reason for this is because our data series are on completely different scales. Okay, Google is an order of magnitude, their stock price is an order of magnitude larger than Microsoft's, and so we may want to display that information carefully. So one way of doing this is selecting either of our two data series. I'm going to select the line corresponding to Microsoft. Notice that all of these data points are going to be highlighted. When I select this data series, my chart options will come up, and I'm going to go over to the Series Options menu. Under the Series Options menu, there's an option here that says Primary Axis. Right now, both of our data series are plotted on the primary axis, which is the left-hand side vertical axis. We can improve the visualization here by selecting Secondary Axis after having highlighted the Microsoft data series. When we do this, we'll notice a much stronger movement, co-movement, between Microsoft and Google stock prices. But notice, right now, Microsoft stock price bounces from between roughly $40 up to $48. Looking at this chart, we have no idea which of the two stock prices is reflected on which axis. Okay, so again, Microsoft stock price is here on the right axis, Google stock price is here on the left axis, but since our readers didn't make this graph, they would have no way of knowing this. In order to address this problem, we're going to go back to the Add Chart Element option. And under Add Chart Element, we're going to click on Axis Titles. Notice now that not only do we have a primary vertical axis title, which is going to show up here for Google, but we can also add a secondary axis title. And I can put Microsoft here, and I can put Google here. We want to make sure our information our titles are informative and descriptive for any of our readers. Now we can see that with these two graphs together, we see a similar pattern, that is, both of the stock prices tend to move together, and as a consequence, the returns for these companies tend to be highly correlated. This should give you an idea of how to work with both time series and scatter plots, as well as adjusting axes. Again, if we wanted to, we've got plenty of options we can play with inside our formatting menus here. We can change colors, we can highlight, and we've shown how to do that in some previous videos.